watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Songs of, it's the same space. Songs of joy. Lift, lift, lift. Good, lovely.
My favorite food is meatballs.
What could a day in the life look like? And here's how one would go about, engaging students for so many minutes, but then giving a brain break or having some independent study and then bringing them back together.
Hello and welcome to our first virtual edition of Shelby County Schools Report. I'm Dylan Stevenson.
And I'm Thomas Tartan. Usually we highlight the people, programs, and events making a difference in our school system. However, this is no ordinary school year. This month's show will explore how SCS elementary, middle, and high schools are handling virtual school and making the best out of our situation.
In addition to going inside the virtual classroom, executive producer Allison Long will talk to Monica Jordan from the academic office about the recent announcement to get at least some students back into the classroom, the initial decision to forego in-person learning, and what education will look like going forward.
But first, Bruce Elementary School's principal and teachers are pulling out all the stops when it comes to keeping parents and students engaged in learning. Here's how they are doing it.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your break. Now it's back to studying hard and doing whatever it takes. COVID won a couple laps, but we win in the race. Soon as it fall off, we gonna pick up the pace. Yeah, I know you miss your friends, but we gotta stay safe. So keep your hands clean and keep them up off your face. Can't get that corona. You gotta get that diploma.
So we were trying to find any ways to try to engage our scholars virtually since they're not physically in the building. We're really big on relationships here at Bruce, and so not being able to physically see our babies each and every day has been a struggle for not just me, but for all of my teachers and all of our parents.
With kindergarten, you're almost like a school mom. They're so dependent on you.
Alexa, try to unplug your headphones.
So it was kind of hard for in the beginning for scholars and myself.
Like, I miss the fact that a lot of things that they needed, they were comfortable enough to go through me.
What kind of foods would you like to eat at a feast?
My favorite food is meatballs.
So just being able to make that physical connection with them has been a challenge.
So I've been very intentional about reframing the way that we do our morning advisory time, reframing the way that we interact with our scholars so that we're still making sure that our scholars feel like they're seen, heard, and deeply known.
B makes the sound buh, buh, buh.
The tricky thing with kindergarten is you're essentially dealing with a lot of students or a lot of kids who have never stepped foot in a classroom before. Their first introduction to school is virtually, so they're just kind of trying to figure out how they should fit in.
So that has been our biggest struggle, especially with our smallest babies, just getting them used to.
Under the first column, we are going to write the word did.
As time has gone by, I have seen some progression with the Teams platform and both my scholars and I.
Our scholars are learning the alphabet, they're learning the letters, they're learning the numbers, and so we had to think about how are we as 5-year-olds, how are we not necessarily knowing technology, and making sure that we try to break things down in as quick or small steps as possible to kind of make it a little bit easier.
You said, say that one more time?
Reading and learning.
So Megan says she is exceptional at reading and learning.
One incentive that we have in place is called Live School, and their students are able to receive points for behaviors such as having their cameras on or making sure they're muted during instruction or participating in class, completing work.
Compliments are going to Jemiah. I see Jemiah, good.
With kindergarten, it's really hands-on.
Oh, I'm still waiting on some hands. Alexa,
you can't just do one thing and then think that they're all going to learn from that or through that way. So I did the cards. I also would share my screen a lot. I have pencil sticks. I also have like a little virtual wheel. So like I can spin their names and like their name will pop up. I've done that.
Awesome. Jalen.
My teachers had to do was use lots of pictures and just tell the kids, do you see this picture? Do you see this icon on your screen? Okay, this is what this object means.
Look at that first letter. Is that a B?
So the students are able to play like a lot of games throughout the lesson. We have charts and things that I can teach from. I also have like letter sound cards.
Done. Excellent. Show me your work.
And we were able to slowly phase in our scholars into the now full out 8 to 3 instructional day, which I think assisted them in learning the different systems, learning the different platforms, and learning how to navigate them as well.
Let's go.
And I also allow them to have a lot of fun in class. We have a lot of brain breaks. I give them those opportunities to kind of talk with their classmates. I try to keep them engaged and motivated as much as I possibly can.
And now, scholars, it is time for our dance party. We just try to be very creative in finding ways that we can still engage our scholars outside of school so that we can leverage those activities with how they show up in the classroom each and every day. So although we are virtually, we're going to be getting started. I have a nonprofit, all-male ministry program called the Gentlemen's League, and we've been able to convert that virtually. And so what we're actually getting ready to do is we're launching our guest speaker series. And so I've been working with our boys to kind of get what are they interested in? What are some possible careers that they might want to go into? And I've been trying to dig deep into my connections to find some really special, important people that would kind of get them excited about talking to them.
All right, possessive nouns, hold it.
I love the young kids. They're fresh. They have a lot of energy.
All right, we're gonna jump 8 times. You ready? And go. 1.
I love teaching kindergarten. So not being able to physically just give them a hug or yes, have that personal connection with them through that. That has been the biggest challenge.
I know, I understand the safety is so important for everyone, but I just really cannot wait for the opportunity for us to get back to school safely so that I can be able to see all of my scholars again.
Craigmont Middle School administrators and its optional school teachers had to regroup when they got word SCS was going virtual. They developed a system to team up teachers to provide extra support to students. Here's how the virtual school year is going in their own words.
My reaction when I first heard that we were going virtual was I was nervous, I was anxious.
Hey, I'm not ready yet. What do I do first? What's my first step?
It's stressful.
It feels like it takes more of you as a teacher to teach virtually.
But working with my IOD and my peers in Zone 8, we came up with a plan, made it work, practice, implementation. We just hit the ground running.
100, yay. I love it. It's not as great as hands-on because I'm a touchy person. I love to interact with the kids. So it's a matter of modifying assignments to change them into things that kids can interact with their peers as well as myself. The more you see, the more you're going to be engaged.
I would say we're at a place where we are moving steady. I wouldn't say we're all the way comfortable, but we're making it work.
Please make sure you do that, okay? Get caught up. So far, I'm doing well. I enjoy the technology, and I believe that we just haven't really taken advantage of it. And I think that with this current pandemic, I think that it's provided us an opportunity to really embrace it and really take advantage of the tools that we have to definitely enhance education. That's correct.
Teachers are being very creative with engaging students.
Some things that I had to change from regular teaching to virtual is try to find more interactive labs for them. I would also do some experiments in class that they were able to see and suggest that they try it at home.
Each of these original figures along this vector to a new location. The main tool that I'm using right now is my document camera. So I'm using the document camera and I'm able to project that to the students, and I'm able to show them how to work out the math problems or just different visuals that they may need to see in order to get the content that I'm trying to bring across. What did I call these points? F what? Prime, that's correct.
They actually love their class, so we kind of made it a combination of synchronous and asynchronous, where they'll get their assignments. Teachers will model the actual expectation of the lesson and provide resources and examples for that lesson, and students are producing products that we didn't expect them to do.
So when you're translating, pay attention to the vector that you are using. The rigor that is required still with being optional is kind of built into the way that we provide our instruction, especially for the students who are optional within the optional program. You guys are making it too complicated. No, remember, you just slide it.
Team teaching for us, it is new this year.
They were initially fighting the team teaching, co-teaching. They were more like, no, this teacher does it this way and I have my own way. But until we actually implemented it in real time, they're like, Ms. Turner, this is amazing. I see why we need 2 people now.
What makes up the non-metals?
Look in your chat box. It's clues in the chat box.
Where I lack in an area, she may pick it up, or where she lacks, then I pick it up.
Somebody can check the chat box, somebody can do attendance. She'll teach this, I do part of the lesson, and I'll do the we do. And it's more of now they embrace the co-teaching piece.
What is our percentage, Ms. Generette?
Our percentage is 50%, and I'll place that in the chat box.
So I love team teaching because that way we both learn from each other. We learn each other's moves. It's great to work with somebody that you can get along with.
And it helps the students as well as the teachers.
Go ahead and go to that link.
I got it now.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Ms. Generette. To get them to participate is like... it's a win or lose draw situation.
Well, middle school, they're kind of the middle child. It just depends, and each student is different. I had a teacher who said that, hey, every time we log in, this student is lying in the bed. I said, well, is he paying attention? Yes, ma'am, he's paying attention, but he's lying in the bed.
Can I leave and come back?
Yes, I do have some concerns about students not being where they need to be because of virtual learning. And that's, I guess, the disadvantage of that, because I can't be there with them physically. What I try to do is call them in teams after school to help them one-on-one. Now, I want you to put periodic law with that and put it together. And what do you think that means?
It takes more of you as a teacher to teach it virtually. With that disconnect virtually, I think that as a teacher, you have to kind of put in like 2 or 3 times as much to try to get that connection with the students in order to, to be able to pour in and to teach them and to give them what you're really trying to give them.
What comes from the heart reaches the heart. So if I'm engaged and active and happy-go-lucky, then the students will be that way as well.
But we do miss our students. The virtual world, again, like I told the student in the chat box, it's hard for the students. And I wanted them to know, hey, it's hard for us as adults too. And
regardless of how much technology you bring in, you can never replace the teacher. You have to have the teacher in that piece, because there are gaps in between that I've discovered that only the teacher can kind of help fill in those gaps. That's right. Good job, Giselle. You get the points for today. Good job.
Now here's GHS-TV executive producer Allison Long with this month's SCS Focus.
Thank you, Thomas. 2020 has been anything but ordinary. When the pandemic hit the Mid-South in March, Shelby County Schools closed down all school buildings indefinitely. Then in July, Superintendent Dr. Joris Ray made a controversial decision to move all SCS classrooms online. In October, after consulting with health and education experts, Dr. Ray announced a plan to phase some students back into the classroom starting in January. There is a lot to unpack in this decision. Here to help us understand what all went into these decisions is Monica Jordan, Director of Program for the Office of Academics. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Back in March, the students thought that they were getting simply 1 day added on to spring break, and that turned into school buildings closed indefinitely for the 4th quarter. Can you tell us the factors that went into making that decision?
Absolutely. So very early on, Dr. Ray was meeting with health department officials to really get a sense of, what does the rate of infection look like? What are the impacts, close contact, exposure, and those kinds of things. And so all of those scientific factors went into decision making. But I will also say, too, that, we also wanted to not overshoot, what was going to happen or overpredict. And so initially it was just extend spring break for a week, and then it became, more. And then the next thing school was virtual for the rest of the year. But all along the way, though, Dr. Ray had been meeting with health officials to make sure that all of the decisions were informed by scientific factors, and really just weighing the pros and cons of, would it be more risky to bring students into the environment, potentially infecting folks at home and then bringing that back and forth to school? Or would it be more risky for them to learn at home with learning packets and videos and other public access educational opportunities?
So over the summer, decisions and other factors as far as scientific data led us to the fact that schools would remain virtual at the beginning of the school year. So then there was a lot that Shelby County schools had to do to prepare students and teachers and parents for this to happen. Can you tell us some of the things that were implemented for our students as we moved into virtual learning?
Certainly. So a little known fact was we had already been exploring moving into a one-to-one district. And we started with a very small pilot in high school. And it was actually across 9 high schools. And so the plan for the 2021 year was going to be to onboard the rest of the high schools and then start a pilot with a subset of middle schools. Well, thanks to CARES Act funding and other sources of funding, we were able to make some decisions that because of the uncertainty of what might occur in the fall season and the rate of infection and what have you, we decided to utilize those funds to purchase equipment for all students, kindergarten through 12th grade. And that way, regardless of what happened, whether it was face-to-face in the fall, a hybrid where some students were face-to-face and some were learning at home, or 100% at home, because we just really didn't have a sense of what would be true, we just made a way for all 94,000 students to have devices. And so what we had to do in order to make that come true, we had to create a distribution plan. Again, dispersing 94,000 pieces of equipment. It's unheard of to do that much at one time. And so really just getting all of the different logistics sorted out to make that possible.
And what kind of feedback have you received from students and parents and teachers about this model of learning virtually?
So we've gotten lots of feedback, as you can imagine. It just runs the gamut. There are certain students that love this flexibility of being able to learn in an environment that feels really comfortable for them. And there are other students and families that really appreciate the structure of a brick and mortar building that comes with, schedules, especially things like busy families, just appreciating having a space to do school versus all of that kind of happening in the home space.
Okay, and recently Dr. Ray announced that we would begin a phase-in approach in January to bring the students back. Can you tell us what that will look like?
Certainly. Well, the extent of the information that I have now is, again, just trying to get the younger students in first, because that comes with its own set of logistics. Younger students, they have certain ways of entering the building and certain ways of moving about the building that's very different than how middle schoolers and high schoolers do. So just imagine routines that need to be established that are not the same kinds of routines that they used to have in a different way of doing school. So we really needed a buffer of time to be able to get those children acclimated before trying to bring back all 94,000 students at once. And so that's part of what went into the rationale, and just to give ourselves a chance to really go slow enough to learn what we needed to learn, to do it with, just mitigate any of those hiccups that just always occur when you're implementing something on this scale. Mm-hmm. Parents do have choices that they can make still in the same way that they did in the early fall, and teachers do as well. So that also comes with its own set of logistics. So we will still have some set of folks at home learning and potentially at home instructing as well. So we just need to, figure out like, well, what impact might that have on the physical school building itself? So Ms. Jordan will not have all 25 of her students physically present, but that class of 25 students is still the class. So how do we keep them engaged and together and keep that sense of community going? And in the cases where Ms. Jordan may have chosen to instruct from home, who is physically there with the students, with Ms. Jordan still tuning in and still having that synchronous experience that we do know, bonds students, builds community, and really just kind of helps everyone kind of sharpen those skills. It helps to have somebody learning alongside you to just keep you sharp and keep you motivated.
Yes. Well, thank you for your time, and I wish we had more time because there's so many questions I think that students and teachers and parents have about how this is going to work and what it's going to look like as far as the hours of the school day and the number of students in the classroom. And so I do hope that we get another chance to meet before January and talk about really enacting the back to school process.
Absolutely.
But thank you for your time.
Would love to come back and share that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Now here's Dylan Stevenson with a look at how high school teachers and students have fared in the pandemic.
While high school academic classes were easily able to convert to an online setting, virtual school forced fine arts teachers to think more outside the box. They are finding new ways to teach their hands-on, performance-based classes. Here's how they are doing it.
I'm imagining you're saying it. Whether the weather is hot, we'll be together no matter the weather, whether we like it or not. As I thought about this year and I thought about choir in a virtual world, when you think about those things, inherently they don't go together.
Let's start with harmony. Look at this kind of shaky movement thing that I'm doing with the line. One of the biggest difficulties is keeping that part of humanity a little further back in my head and focusing on this imaginary reality where, I'm looking at you, but I gotta look at the camera.
Those motions they're faster, they're quick, they're free in the air. Remember, you're radiating. Let's start molding.
I told them, I said, this is totally new with me. And now the screen is a thing and how much the camera picks up is a thing. It's really interesting to have that as an element to your acting. That's really been a challenge, but also it's kind of fun.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Remember, the next generation of voters is watching.
The challenges to the virtual environment for our production class and our advanced film and video classes is that the kids can't physically be here to do the work. We miss that hands-on experience right now.
And I told my students at the beginning of the year, this is what we are faced with. In order for us to grow as a community, in order for us to learn, timing is actually quite good. Your rhythm is pretty solid, girl. That's one of the hardest parts of this, right?
You can do new things that you can't really do in person.
I know that it's only a matter of time before I go back to that.
So, number 1, you've got to slow down.
The ability to have time, immediately have that one-on-one that is rare to find in a regular school setting.
You have to think about new ways to engage.
How do I do that virtually? And I think I'm very methodical about how I bring my students into a classroom. Do I connect with them right off the bat? Am I asking them how their day is, or do they just sit there like these little worms on a screen doing nothing? Why are you all so quiet? Talk.
Yeah, I'll go.
Those are things that are so important. Taking 5 minutes to care can make all of the difference. That's the good stuff. I'm getting to the nitty-gritty because you're talented and you're going to make this choir. You know this stuff.
I feel like I was developing a new way to get things out of the students that could also transfer very well from the virtual, is giving the students who are not so comfortable being in the groups an avenue to communicate.
Say that again.
Is it forming?
Forming. I like that word.
What I've done recently, because everyone has their laptop, the students have the option of doing digital artwork as well, so that we could actually do an example of a digital assignment. And I also use the DocuCam, and that is the part that accounts for my 4 here.
I'd show them both examples, a digital example or a drawn example, and to give them the choice of which one they wanted to do.
They're doing great with what we're giving them.
They're still done post-production, however, Mr. Mazur now wants to choose the PSA breaks.
By having the students editing our shows, producing virtually our shows, doing all these workshops, they're still involved in the daily GHS-TV productions that we must complete.
Hello, and welcome to our first virtual edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk.
We've got 2 shows in our pocket right now with Crosstalk, and they've been completely virtual.
We are still fully functioning. Even some of our shows, kind of been postponed, but the most of these things, majority of the shows, the Crosstalk, GHS Insider, Shelby County School Report, we're still doing.
We have virtual channels set up so that our technical director can see how a show is being produced. The cameramen, the floor directors can log into their special channel so they can see what's going on the floor. And so they're all learning at the same time when we're taping our shows that we do, so that when we are back in person and in school, we can seamlessly transition and get back into our daily routine.
Want to move faster? You're so free. You can move faster. Your stuff can move all over.
Theater specifically, it is really, really, really hard to translate what we do on stage to this box.
All right, what would flying dancing be like? Flying dancing. Flying dancing. I like this, Sean. That's good.
I try to play improvisation activities or games every Friday. One class period, we really played around with entrances and exits using the screen and how that would look. So just to kind of like give you an idea of like, if it's just your head like coming in like this, like, hey, just doing that. Or what is it like to enter from the top of this screen and come over? Or, also having like a facial expression.
Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord! Praise the Lord! Praise the Lord!
Don't make it about you. It's about the music, girl. Yes? Most of my students are working on the All West Tennessee Honor Choir audition right now, which will be submitted next week. So we're fortunate we have this assessment that carries well to a virtual platform. We don't really have any performances, so I'm fortunate to be able to utilize that class time for more individual work.
Into like an airplane motion, and you just want to raise this hand above your head, just trying to get your hand through this mud.
So I feel like the pandemic is kind of forcing all of us to re-examine not what we teach, but how we teach that and how we engage the students.
How are we reaching our students? Are we listening to them right now? But I've been pleasantly surprised in their ability to adjust, to figure things out. It's not easy, and I'm so proud of them and overjoyed by the work that they are doing.
We hope you enjoyed this month's Shelby County Schools Report. If you would like to learn more about Shelby County Schools, visit us on the web at SCSK12.org.
On behalf of everyone here at Germantown High School Television and Shelby County Schools, we thank you for watching today's program. We will see you next time on Shelby County Schools Report.